Okay, the Reawaken America tour continues all across the country. This is this sort of right wing conspiracy Christian type event. It's a weird mix of different constituencies, but very often people like former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn will speak at the event. Sometimes Eric Trump will speak at the event. And we're going to look at a couple of clips just to show you kind of the disconnect from reality, but also the kind of level of danger that is implicit in some of these things. We're going to start first with Eric Trump. Eric Trump is not known to be the smartest of the Trump kids, but here he seems determined to prove he's the least smart, saying the real pandemic in the United States isn't COVID. The real pandemic is fentanyl. Take a listen to this.
So she's supposed to be in charge of the southern border. You have more fentanyl coming across. By the way, the real pandemic in this country is fentanyl. Let's be very clear about that. The real pandemic in this country is fentanyl. It's not COVID. It's fentanyl.
Now, fentanyl is a problem, and we'll talk about it's a synthetic opioid. We'll talk about fentanyl in a moment. But this is absurd for a couple of reasons. First, you hear people cheering. Why would people cheer? Well, do they really care about fentanyl? No. They care about fentanyl in that it's an opportunity to say the real issue isn't COVID. Any opportunity to say that they love. And number two, because they associate fentanyl with the southern border, it's another opportunity to attack Joe Biden for what they wrongly believe has drastically changed on the southern border since Donald Trump left and Joe Biden came in. But let's talk about using the term pandemic for fentanyl. Drug overdoses aren't contagious in the literal sense. Now, sure, there are trends of drug usage. There is groupthink. There is peer pressure. I get that. Drugs go in and out of style. But COVID is literally contagious. Fentanyl is not. So to say the real pandemic isn't the contagious communicable disease, it's drug overdoses, is absurd. If a person on fentanyl sneezes near you, they might give you COVID if they also have it. They're not going to give you fentanyl overdose. Now, in terms of numbers, if we look at deaths by cause in the United States in 2021, you see that last year, 415,000 Americans died of COVID and 71,000 Americans died of fentanyl. So it's about 1/5 the number. Now, it's a major issue for sure. I'm not diminishing the crisis around fentanyl. We have to understand that not only is it a small fraction of the death relative to COVID, that we also need to consider the legal status of drugs in making that number as high as it is. Well, what do I mean? Part of the issue, many fentanyl overdoses and overdose deaths are people who aren't even trying to consume fentanyl. They're accidentally taking it because of how people obtain drugs in the United States because of the criminalization of drugs, right? The war on drugs has a big role to play. Sometimes fentanyl is added to cocaine. Sometimes fentanyl is used in pressed pills meant to look like oxy or other opiates. Sometimes it's put in all sorts of different drugs that people are getting. So you could dramatically reduce fentanyl deaths by treating drug addiction as a public health matter rather than a criminal matter, which the American right is very unwilling to do. So on 4 or 5 different levels, just off the wall bonkers here is Eric Trump. Here's one just like a bonus clip. This is kind of funny and sad. I guess a Trump one flag started to be unveiled in the background, and Eric Trump says it's the greatest flag. Better even than the American flag, I guess.
I love the Carolinas. You guys are the greatest. And honestly, when I came in here and I saw it, raise that flag again over there. That's the greatest flag.
Wow. Trump won, it says.
Is there a single person in this room that thought that Joe Biden won the last election? And neither do I, guys. Neither do I. And our country is an absolute mess right now. I mean, it is. Guys, we dedicated our life to this mission. Believe me, we're the last family in the world that needed to get into politics.
Right. We have so much money. The last place I ever really needed to be was here with people like you. In fact, most of my life I've spent trying to stay away from people like you, but we did it by choice. We did it by choice. Delusional. And the crowd cheers. Let's look at one more clip from this event.